What is up, everyone? Welcome into ADC Sports Dallas Primetime on this Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Central Time. Make sure that you hit the like button as you join the stream. Thank you for sharing as well over at Facebook, YouTube, letting your friends know that you are watching ADC Sports Dallas Primetime. Tonight on the show, we will take a look at some under-the-radar battles that we will see throughout the roster. I know it's early to maybe discuss some training camp battles, but some of this I'm excited about, and I think it's worth mentioning, especially because Mike McCarthy actually addressed one of the positions that we will discuss on tonight's primetime episode. What is up, everyone? Welcome into the show. What is up, Cash, Charlene, Evans, Toxic Tom, as always, Gregory. And we will get to Toxic Tom's question here in a moment because I do have an answer. Once we start the show officially, we will get to that. Chuck, what is up over at Facebook? Gregory, let me see. Jeremy, thank you guys for tuning in. I was looking forward to tonight's episode because college life has been intense over the last 48 hours. But I will get that test out of the way tomorrow morning. But hey, I will not talk to you about my college problems. Do not worry. Now that more of us are here, let's get this show started. Here we go. What is up, everyone? Welcome into ADC Sports Dallas Primetime every Sunday through Thursday night. I'm your host here on Dallas On Demand Sports Talk Network with a lot more content coming your way. Make sure that you check out adcsports.com/Dallas. We've got you covered not only with the Cowboys, but with the Dallas Mavericks that are on the conference finals. Check out Ian's articles over there. And as always, Primetime brought to you by our friends over at freemanhyundai.com. We will talk more about them and the ride of the week in a few moments here in tonight's show. Because tonight we have a packed show. We will discuss some under-the-radar camp battles for the Dallas Cowboys. By now, we've heard about plenty of them. We will get into some that maybe have flown under the radar. 3 specifically. We'll get to that. I know it's a little bit earlier to discuss this sort of battles, but I'm excited about them. We will also get into a special teams need. And finally, we will give our takes on Disney reaching a deal to broadcast the XFL games via ESPN. So that is something that's worldwide discussing, in my opinion. But before we get into all of that, first and foremost, do me a favor, hit the like button. If you like what you're seeing, every like allows us to put this show in front of more Cowboys fans. But I do want to kick us off with a good question from Toxic Tom. If you had to pick a song to describe the Cowboys, what would it be? I've seen a lot of worthy answers. Achy Breaky Heart. All my exes live in Texas. Pain in my heart. This is Charlene Evans. Life at the Outpost. Stranglehold. So good answers so far here in the YouTube chat and the Facebook chat. Let me give you mine. And I might get canceled because people do not like Nickelback. But I do know a lot of Nickelback songs. And I thought right away of the Trying Not to Love You song. Because, you know, there's this verse that goes, trying not to love you only goes so far, trying not to need you is tearing me apart, can't see the silver lining from down here on the floor, but I'll just keep on trying, I don't know what for. So there you go, that's my official answer, Toxic Tom. And don't worry, I don't listen to Nickelback that much anymore, but I do enjoy their music, especially their older songs. Toxic Tom says Boneless Wings and Nickelback. I think that at one of these days, I'm going to lose Toxic Tom as a loyal listener to the Primetime show. But anyways, welcome into the show. Let's get into tonight's topics. I did want to bring that question up. Samuel Rowe, what is up? Louis over at Facebook. We've got more people over at Facebook. We've got Chalk over there as well. Thank you guys for tuning in. Shot through the heart and you're too late. You give love a bad name, says David Lawrence. That's a good one. That's a good one. Let me, block my guy over here on Facebook. That was a random comment. Facebook comments can get random sometimes. The Nickelback just ages you though, Mo, says Bruce got the use. Yeah, I don't look 12 years old anymore, do I? All right, let's get into the topics, guys. We'll discuss some under-the-radar camp battles for the Cowboys. It's too early. Veterans, however, are already working with some of the rookies on the star over at Frisco. And I thought it would be good timing to maybe get into some of this. Now, I will play a little bit with the order of the overlay here to your left on the screen, because let me start off with a special teams battle that we are set to watch in 2022, even though we don't know it. So far, we have been focused on the kicker position. Chris Nagar, who has been waived by the Cowboys, versus Jonathan Garibay. Seems like the Texas Tech undrafted free agent has the upper hand in that battle. However, there's another special teams need that we have not really discussed, and that is the need for a punt returner. And actually, let me rephrase that. The urgent, answerless kind of need for the Cowboys, because last year, Dallas only had 2 punt returners, basically. Trevon Diggs, Nashawn Wright, they recorded some returns, but I think they combined for a big total of 3. So they really don't count in this conversation. Cedric Wilson and CeeDee Lamb, however, were the guys that actually returned the most punts for the Cowboys in 2021. And now Cedric Wilson is gone. He's a Miami Dolphin now. And CeeDee Lamb is going to jump to become the wide receiver number 1 for the Cowboys, the number 1 wide receiver for the Cowboys. So you got to wonder if Dallas is going to risk CeeDee, assigning him as the punt returner for the team. It's a different situation now for Dallas. And Mike McCarthy last week said that that's a position that they definitely need to address, while saying that, player acquisition never stops. So that kind of sheds some light into maybe the Cowboys thinking that they will address this need via the free agency market. Now, my question, I spoiled you guys. I spoiled you because I put out the wrong question on the chat. Let me see if I can delete it really quick. I can't delete it from YouTube. All right, I spoiled one of the camp battles. It's no biggie. That's what I get from playing with the order of the topics. Is a 2022 Cowboys punt returner already on the roster? Yes or no? Because Bruce has a point here. No to CeeDee Lamb, maybe Pollard. And it's funny that Tony Pollard has never been involved in punt returns. He's always involved in kickoff returns. Even when he was at Memphis, he always was a kickoff returner for the Tigers, but he didn't return punts. I don't know if, that's because he has some trouble with it. Maybe that speaks something into what the Cowboys think of him as a punt returner. But do you think that a Cowboys punt returner is already on the roster, or do you think Mike McCarthy was onto something when he said that that's a position that they need to address? And if so, who are some candidates, in-house candidates, that could end up returning punts for Dallas? MJ, Jack, Charlene, all of you guys are going with the yes answer. Nicholas says, but he used to be. No, but he used to be. It was Cole Beasley. Toxic Tom saying that Ryan Nall can return punts. Craig is betting on Tony Pollard. I wouldn't bet that much on Tony Pollard. I know we hope that he is that guy in punt returns, but I do think it speaks, at least it tells us something that he's never done so, even though he's been a specialist for John Fassel's unit before. It's different doing punts. I agree with Samuel. The fielding is different. The returns themselves are different. You might need a little bit more elusiveness for punts, maybe. Nashawn Wright to Samuel Rowe. Lenore says Craig. Speed enhances Chris Graham. Tolbert says Charlene Evans. Jalen Tolbert is an interesting answer. You could also maybe point towards some of the undrafted free agent guys. They might battle for a roster spot with these kind of services. Simi Fehoko potentially. James Washington has actually has been mentioned by some of you guys. Jack says Wright actually did return punts. I don't know if Jack means in college. Last year for the Cowboys, he had what? I believe he had 2 or 1, because I know that Diggs and Wright combined for 3 in 2021. Who would you put on kickoff return for Dallas? Says MJ. Right now, I would probably go with James Washington. I think that's my favorite answer for this question, because on the undrafted free agent side, you can bet on several players, but maybe not all of them. I would love to see Nashawn Wright return punts in college, as Jack suggested here in YouTube as well. But I think that James Washington, with the speed and all of that, that could make sense. You can definitely try Trevon Diggs, as Craig is pointing out on Facebook. But I don't know, he's your number one cornerback, and I struggle a little bit putting your number one cornerback or your number one wide receiver, which is why we are expecting CeeDee Lamb to not be the guy anymore. It's different than in last year when you had Amari Cooper. CeeDee Lamb was not your number one guy. Now he is. Do you want to risk him to injury that way? That could apply for Trevon Diggs as well. That could apply for him as well. John Stanley saying, do you think Anthony Barr is a player we could get? It will help so much on the defense. John, I do. The short answer is yes, I do. The long answer is we actually had a show on this very topic last night, in case you want to check it out once tonight's Primetime is done, on 3 reasons why I believe it is possible. Or you can check out my article on this topic over at adcsports.com/Dallas. 3 reasons why I believe it makes a ton of sense and why I believe it could happen. Washington probably will not make the team. Oh, Craig with the bold prediction here. I think this is a bold prediction, don't you? Washington probably will not make the team. I think he's a week 1 starter for the Cowboys, to be honest, assuming that Michael Gallop is not ready to go week 1. David Lawrence says Noah Brown could return punts. Interesting. Dallas Young says Bland has an ideal body type for punt return. I don't know if he has any experience, though. Hey, there are several candidates. Some of them, though, without experience, and that's the concern for the Cowboys right now at punt returner. I am crazy. All right. Am I alone on this hill? I don't think that I am. I think that Craig is more likely to be alone on this hill on James Washington not making the roster. I actually have him down as a lock to make the roster. I will say that's a bold prediction, and that's okay, of course. Maybe in September we applaud Craig for that take. But right now, I would say that is a flaming hot take from Craig. James Washington is making this roster. I like Noah Brown. I like Simi Fehoko. But Washington is, to me, on a tier above these guys. I expect him to start as long as Michael Gallop is not ready to go on week 1. And even once Gallop is back, and you have this starting trio of CeeDee Lamb, Jalen Tolbert, and Michael Gallop, I believe James Washington will play a bigger role than maybe we expect him to. I will say this. I know that I'm higher on James Washington than most people. So maybe it's a combination of takes here from Craig and myself. and maybe we're clashing on that front, because I do admit that I'm higher on James Washington than most people. I think he's been misused with the Steelers. He hasn't had the opportunities with Big Ben, and he's, how to put it without sounding, no offense, but declining arm from Ben Roethlisberger. I think he has the potential to be a legit threat with the Cowboys. Have you seen the Steelers offense from the last recent years? From the last few years. I mix that up. Just inside zone, quick hits, all of that. Gilbert says, is Washington better than Gallop? No, I wouldn't go. No, he's not better than Gallop. Gallop is a complete X-receiver. I don't think that applies to Washington. He's more of a specialist with his speed and his tracking abilities that are pretty cool. James Washington says John Starr will play the same role that Beasley did, but with way more vertical element to it. Washington got buried on that depth chart, says Jeremy. That, however, is also a good point when talking about his Steelers' performance, right? Toxic Tom says, crazier things have happened. I would not call anyone on a one-year deal a guaranteed roster lock. And with James Washington, you're talking about a veteran on a minimum deal. Actually, the Cowboys are getting the minimum deal with him. So, talking about wide receiver, let's move on from special teams to wide receiver, actually. And let's get to one under-the-radar camp battle for the Cowboys. Let's call this the battle for, at first, wide receiver 4. I believe that once Michael Gallup is back, James Washington is likely to be the wide receiver 4. But in the meantime, who is the guy? Is it Noah Brown? Is it Simi Fehoko? Is it an undrafted free agent from the Cowboys? And my question from me to you guys in the chat is, how confident would you feel? Week 1, Michael Gallup not back yet. Let's assume that is the case. That's the scenario. How confident would you be in Simi Fehoko as wide receiver 4 early in the season? Noah Brown, Simi Fehoko. Of course, this is not a roster battle. This is more of a role battle. Who will be wide receiver 4 between these two? I believe both make the roster, at least at first. Noah Brown, we know that the Cowboys are higher on him than the fan base is. They like what he brings to the blocking side of things. They like him. And with Simi Fehoko, it's his second year. There's that attractive combination of speed and size. And this is what makes this battle interesting, in my opinion. And that's the fact that Simi Fehoko and Brown, whoever becomes wide receiver 4, usually you would be concerned about these guys getting special teams play. And you would say, oh, John Fassel will end up making that call because it's about how much they will contribute on that aspect of the game. However, without Michael Gallup on the roster, whoever ends up as wide receiver 4 is likely to have a big role on the Cowboys offense. And I wonder if that benefits Simi Fehoko or Noah Brown. So the question once again for you guys is, how confident would you be in Simi Fehoko as wide receiver 4 early in the season, while you give me your answers? And before I give you mine, let me talk to you about our friends over at FreemanHyundai.com, because the ride of the week is the new 2022 Hyundai Sonata. It starts at $26,739. Miles per gallon capacity of 28 in the city, goes up to 38 miles per gallon in the highway. It's got 2 front LCD monitors. That's an amazing interior design. You can check it out over at FreemanHyundai.com. Look at the pictures. You get the outside view, the inside view, a 360-degree view of the car as well. Apple CarPlay / Android Auto on the 2022 Hyundai Sonata, and electric stability control. Fancy feature for the Hyundai at a very affordable price. You can check it out over at freemanhyundai.com. Family-owned business for over 65 years and a wide range of new and used Hyundai vehicles. Once more, at freemanhyundai.com. Let's see your confidence in Simi Fehoko. Craig goes with 0, saying, I would rather have Basher or Freifogel. And that's an interesting aspect of the battles at wide receiver for Dallas. There's plenty of these younger, unproven guys that could end up stepping up and making a case for their roster, But Craig goes with the 0. Bruce goes with the 6. Toxic Tom, I don't know what people saw on Simi that has people so excited. Simi Fehoko will start, says Gilbert. We have some hot wide receiver takes tonight on Primetime. I don't think that is the case. Simi Fehoko will start, says Gilbert. Hey, I would love him to be surprised by Simi, but that's maybe a little bit too optimistic for Simi, I would say. David Lawrence says Simi Fehoko can be a beast if we use him right. High confidence from Louis representing Titans Nation tonight. Simi, I think that Brown finally gets cut, says Jeremy. Both Brown and Fehoko, says Gregory. I think Ryan is kidding, though. I know this. Simi Fehoko will be our number 1 receiver by week 10. I don't know if this is Ryan just wishing the Cowboys starting wide receivers injury, or maybe he's that high on Simi. I will go with a 4/5 in my confidence rating for Simi Fehoko as my number 4 wide receiver. I get the hype. I get that we like size and speed, but I do think that Cowboys Nation is maybe a little bit too high on Simi Fehoko. The traits are there. He has the potential to be something special in the NFL just because of the size and the speed itself. And he has good hands for the red zone and all of that. I don't know who wins this battle, but I don't know if I would be super confident on Simi on that front. And with Noah Brown, I also think that we kind of overlook what he's done with the team. He's been around for a while now. He has been around for a while for the Cowboys, and we know that at least they like him. Another camp battle that I believe Cowboys Nation should watch very closely, and I think this is maybe not as under the radar, but people have been talking about Jake Ferguson at tight end. Let's make it very clear. His battle is not versus Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz is tight end 1 for the Cowboys in 2022. I believe that much is clear. However, it's a good battle for the backup tight end position. And you've got Jake Ferguson and Sean Mckeon. And it seems to me that everyone in Cowboys Nation will tell you that Ferguson is the guy. And that makes a lot of sense. He's a 4th-round draft pick. He had a strong performance in the Senior Bowl. It makes sense based on what the Cowboys want to do. The coaching staff is hyping him up. Jake Ferguson is definitely the favorite to win this battle. But, Mckeon has been on the Cowboys for 2 years now. And he has 23 games on his belt. He doesn't have anything, close to quality production as a pass catcher, but he does have this experience with the Cowboys in which he's been asked to block. The Cowboys like to use 12 personnel. He's played a little bit with the Cowboys, not that much, but he's been in Dallas for 2 years. Craig says Mckeon came on last year, but talking about the receptions, maybe he had 4 receptions, I believe, in 2021, but he also played 14 games in 2020. Not that much, not as a starter, sometimes not even as a backup. But I wonder if Mckeon can do enough to make this an interesting battle for tight end 2. The Cowboys know that they've got time with Jake Ferguson So if they believe that he's not ready to go in year one, even as a backup tight end, it's not like they're going to force him. So if we're talking about 12 personnel, we're talking about these tight ends more than anything running or blocking in the run game, at least based on what the Cowboys do. So watch out for that. Where is Ryan Knowles as Toxic Tom? I actually wanted to bring this battle up, but I forgot about it. I was going to bring up the question of how the running back group is going to look. Maybe we can save that for another show, because I know that Toxic Tom is joking about Ryan Knowles. But there's actually a battle over there for guys that don't even know if there will be a third back on the roster. We don't know if the Cowboys will go just with Zeke and Pollard at running back, or if they will carry a third back this time around, whether it's a halfback, whether it's a fullback. But even between them, there's a good battle to discuss there. People are rooting for Fehoko in the wide receiver conversation. I like it. Let's go. Hopefully Ferguson can block better than Dalton. He was asked to block a lot in college. So maybe the willingness at the very least is there. And we know that that's big. If you want to make it as a blocker in the NFL, willingness is more important than it would seem. Before we get out of here, ladies and gentlemen, ESPN, well, Disney and ESPN reached an exclusive multi-year deal to broadcast XFL games. So if you want to watch the XFL in 2023, you will be able to do so via ESPN platforms. And I believe that includes the actual channels. I believe that includes ABC. And it also includes, of course, the app ESPN Plus. The question from me to you guys before we get out of here, do you agree or disagree that Disney reaching a deal with the XFL boosts the XFL's credibility? Do you agree or disagree? I don't know about you, but I've kind of forgotten about the USFL. And that might be maybe the time of the year. Maybe that might be my personal life. But it does seem to me that the USFL hype has gone down significantly over the last few weeks. I have not seen the actual numbers, so I might be wrong. But, with the XFL reaching an exclusive deal with ESPN, with Disney, that feels kind of big. Bruce says, is it in Disney Plus? If not, disagree. I think that Bruce meant there. Well, the Athletics note does not mention Disney Plus. It mentions ABC, FX, ESPN Networks, and ESPN Plus. But it does say Disney Networks like ABC, so it doesn't rule out other. We'll see if they stream something on ESPN Plus. Let's see. Disagree, says Gilbert. Agree, says Scott. Goes with yes. Their games are boring, not the same as the NFL. Talking about the USFL. Agree, says Craig. Sugar Daddy Williams goes with agree. Gregory goes with disagree. Toxic Tom says Mo isn't Disney the one that needs a credibility boost. And maybe that's an interesting business conversation to have. But in the meantime, I will go with a very strong agree. I believe that Disney is very well positioned to turn the XFL into, I don't mean a success like a true competitor to the NFL kind of success, but I think that the XFL can work out with Disney streaming their games. I think there's something way different when you start talking about ESPN, when you start talking about ESPN Plus, the infrastructure and the money involved with Disney broadcasts / ESPN, of course, it does give them a ton of credibility. And I think that the XFL will really benefit from ESPN broadcasting their games. And right now, ESPN Plus is an app with a lot of traffic. It's got a lot of issues. I will not say no to that. ESPN Plus needs to be fixed. But, they're streaming the UFC there. They're streaming pretty much every game. Over here in Mexico, you've got the Star Plus app that's basically the equivalent to ESPN Plus. And I will tell you something. USFL games cannot be watched legally in Mexico right now. And there's a huge fan base for football, desperate for football content. And you cannot watch USFL games other than via illegal streams. Via ESPN, though, I can guarantee you that the XFL games will be watchable. And that might not be the biggest market. I understand that. But on an international level, there are fan bases looking for football content beyond the NFL. And ESPN is going to hand it to us. And I will give you another example. College football. Before, it was so tough to find college football games in Mexico's TV channels and streaming services and all of that. Now that has changed also via ESPN. They know what they're doing, man. They know what they're doing. And I believe this is big for the XFL. Toxic Tom says Disney renames the NFL teams after their movies, The Lion Kings versus the Jungle Books. I will not lie. I would love to see that. I say, hey, let me stand up here for a moment. As a Disney fan myself, I would be all for that. Give me Disney named teams on the XFL. I know that will not happen, but I would sure as heck enjoy it. Anyways, guys, before we leave, smash the like button, share the stream. I need to go. It will be a shorter show than usual. Tomorrow morning, I have a big test in college, basically certifying to become a financial advisor if that's what I want to do, but I at least need to pass it to graduate from college. So we'll see how it goes. I'm actually low-key excited about the test, even if that sounds nerdy. But give me a like button, hit the like button, share the stream. If you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, let your friends know about ADC Sports Dallas Primetime. As always, brought to you by our friends over at freemanhyundai.com. For more Cowboys articles and Mavericks articles, make sure that you check out adcsports.com/Dallas. Thank you, guys, and I will see you tomorrow night on ADC Sports Dallas Primetime. Thank you.